man, is that Double D? Yeah, man. Well, turn it up, man.
Let's just go in and, like, kill all the orcs, right? They're the bad guys, who gives a shit? We just hack and slash and we loot their dead bodies, right? Hack and slash, kill them all, you know, conquer the infidels.
Boy, that campaign sounds like a barrel of fun, doesn't it?
When I got fired from ArenaNet, other women in the industry, like all of a sudden, you know, people were randomly sending me $250 on PayPal.
Somebody who's opening a refrigerator and leaning in, right, is the language of a woman. Somebody who's opening their refrigerator and being cut off halfway through that lean is the voice of like a mermaid or a siren, right?
Orcs are just like evil elves, right? And they were like made by like an evil god.
Honestly, guys like me can't leave soon enough.
Well, then you shall sleep forever.
Okay, well, if you want me to crunch, give me partial ownership in the company.
We want this dwarf to be the dwarfiest dwarf.
Right.
We want the elf to be the elfiest elf.
And just the dashiest dash of Tabasco.
Their voices need to carry across water.
I'm a creative. It's a huge drain, right? Because fans can be awful.
Costa del X, Lutherville, Marina del X, Otisburg. Otisburg?
Where's this monster? She's got her own place, man.
Otisburg? It's a little bitty place. Otisburg?
Okay, I just wipe it off. That's all. It's a little town.
Okay. We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Fucking thing sucks.
In 5, 4, 3.
Great sandwich.
Howdy. How is everybody doing tonight? Thank you for joining on relatively short notice. I planned on actually just doing something else tonight. And then, you know what? I hit up somebody that I've been meaning to do something with for a little while, and he with me. And I'm glad we could finally get together. Let's see, who do we have in the chat here first? We have the old stalwarts, Cal, Kobanizer. Hello, Jace. Maliki, what's up, man? Flady. Hi, Charlotte. How you doing, darling? All right. I think I am going to go ahead and bring on our special guest. You guys in this space, I think a lot of you already know him. He is the T-shirted historian. How you doing?
Hello, everybody out there in YouTube land. It's your T-shirted historian.
Are you an actual historian?
Yes, I am actually. I've got a degree.
Sweet. Do you teach history or do something else with it?
I have taught history. Yeah, I have.
My friend Gavin Morgan, he also has a history degree, and he did a little teaching, but I think it kind of burnt him out. He was doing it at the high school level, and
it's a rough job, man. It's not for everybody.
My wife is she is a teacher right now, teaching fifth graders, and it is nightmare time. We are in a world of trouble in about 6 or 7 years.
Oh yeah,
these kids are. She tells me all the time. She's like, I don't know what to do. She's like, they are mentally, they're mentally like second graders. I'm sure COVID had something to do with that, but still, I think bad parenting is part of it as well.
Well, when you rely upon an educator to be, not just an educator, but also the person who instructs children in manners and proper behavior and pretty much all other aspects of social life, it's kind of like that's a lot of work to put on a teacher for so little pay. So it's kind of like you're getting what you paid for, America.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. She is already looking at like when is the first minute I can retire. So yeah, that is not a discussion I thought we'd be having so soon, but she is she is almost there. terrible, terrible class. But yeah, I guess we will reap the whirlwind in a few years on that.
Oh yeah, I can't wait until they have to deal with complex weights and measurements on things like the atomic reactors and all that other stuff.
Well, I was saying
That'll
the
be
other night, something scared the hell out of me was I just saw this, and I don't know how true it was, but Southwest Airlines lowers the standards for their pilots. And I'm like, I always feared this day. I'm a nervous flyer to begin with. And it's like, if we're slowly sliding towards idiocracy, I'm not sure how much I want to step onto a plane. I mean,
well, we're already getting to the Tesla vehicles that drive themselves. So.
I just couldn't do that. I don't know if it's maybe a generational thing or a control thing, but I could not put that kind of faith in a machine. Could you?
No.
Yeah.
Besides, I like to drive anyway.
Yeah, I do too. We usually take a nice trip down to South Carolina during the summer, and I don't mind driving it at all. I'll drive 10, 12 hours at a stretch if I can. Never bothered me at all.
Oh, Flatey, was it? Don't forget sex and pronouns. My pronouns. Well, let's see. I just had a vegan meal. I just had a few some pickles and some nuts, and I've decided that my name's that my new name is going to be the She-Hurted Historian, and my pronouns will be they, them, and and also lion and tigress, because so cattish.
Just because
I can, because pronouns. I don't. No, I make fun, but I mean, honestly, it's I got nothing. I'm the B in the LGBTQ, so it's like I'm all for those folks. Just being one of them. I do kind of have a little. Yeah, I do have a little problem with neopronouns, just because it's been taken to such an extreme that it's just like, really.
When it ceased to be about not about equality and like, well, all right, now we have to be treated special. It's like, I've said before, I have a very close relative who is gay. It's like, yeah, cool, no worries here. I will treat you exactly, like my non-gay relatives, and that was always that's what I understood was always the struggle before. And it's like, all right, it's got marriage now, that's cool, pretty much. I mean, I don't know, maybe some areas of the deep South it's frowned upon, but it's like everywhere else it's just such a non-issue. But I don't know.
Kobanizer, your pronouns can be Lord and Master, but only at the special mixers, and I have to have a safe word.
Yeah, who else do we have here? Dueling Dragon Adventures.
Oh, that's my boy Greg. Hey, Greg.
How you doing, Dueling Dragon? Welcome aboard. Yeah, I was kind of hoping some of your people would come in here, and if any of you, my regular subscribers, whether you're watching this live or on the replay, if you haven't already, check out T-Shirted Historian's channel. It's got a good channel, does good panel discussions, and definitely give him a subscribe. He is well worth it. He is one of us. He's one of the good ones, as they say.
Well, I try. Yeah, Victor. Yeah, Malaki. Yeah, Victor's a good guy. He's one of my regulars. Animane, my good friend Animane, he says that Grim Jim and Ironcaster are my ride or dies at this point. Grim is actually running his tabletopless game this evening, so he couldn't hang out with us. Ironcaster might always pop into the chat though, because I told him earlier. I said, Diversity and Dragon wants me to panel with him, and he's do it.
Well, it's weird because here I am. I'm nervous. I'm like, man, I hope he says yes. I don't know. People have been very kind to me, since I started, and I got a nice early push at first. When I was on with Ethan Van Skyver, that gave me kind of a little mini push, and then RPG Pundit gave me a nice push too when I released a video that he took a fancy to. So yeah, I don't know. People have just been very, very swell to me, and I promise I will never be one of those ones that just looks down on, no matter how far I go or how big I get, or even if this is as big as I get, I will, I will never look down on somebody, in the YouTube community who's like starting out, and trying to build their channel.
Yeah, I'm still kind of in the same boat, and I was just always amazed. I'm like, wow, Diversity in Dragons just shot way past me, and I've been grinding at it for 2 years now. I mean, but
sometimes it's luck. It really is. I'd love to say like, oh, it's my superior, whatever, gift of gab or editing skills or whatever. I'm sure some of that stuff helps, but it's like sometimes you need a little push. So
as everybody knows, I'm a Hispanic, and it's obvious why you got ahead of me, because you're white, right? That's the only reason. Yes.
It's funny though how Hispanics they're considered white when it's convenient for some people, and then they're a minority when it's convenient for others. I've always gotten a chuckle out of that.
I mean, it's and then the funny thing is, I don't sound like your typical Latino or anything, and on more than one occasion I've been mislabeled. So it's
really?
So it's like, okay, well, whatever. It's like I don't take offense to it. I don't care. It's like, as long as you use my name properly, that's fine. But
like John Delarose, he's people I guess forget he's Hispanic.
Yeah.
I don't know if you watch his channel at all. He can be kind of entertaining every once in a while. I saw you mention I think it was your state of like the kind of state of pop culture and what a nightmare it is. But
my rant, yeah.
Needless to say, I pretty much agree. I also thought it was kind of interesting. We kind of seized both on like House of the Dragon. I think a lot of people did too, as something that was unexpectedly okay. Not perfect, but pretty good. I'm glad I gave it a shot. I kind of watched the first episode and I'm like, I don't know. Should I keep going? And I'm glad I kind of pushed through, and it is good, a pretty good series.
Well, here's the story on it. I mean, it's like I was a diehard Westworld fan. I loved the very first season of it so much that it's all I could talk about for the longest time. So when second season came out, I loved it, but I could kind of see that the veneer was peeling off a lot. Then they got to that third season, and it was just kind of like, what is this garbage?
I mean, I tell you, my clock was a lot quicker than yours. I got to the second episode of the second season, and I was like, man, I'm not digging this. My wife and my son, we watched the first season together. Like, man, this is really good. And then even my son, who's a little bit more liberal than I am, he was like, oh man, this is not good. So
I consider myself fairly liberal too. But I mean, it's just like, it's just that third season was just absolutely awful. But I told myself, okay, surely they've seen the numbers drop. They can tell that there's something wrong. They're not going to make this mistake again. Fourth season, they've got to turn this around. So I re-upped for, HBO Max, sat down and watched it, and they didn't turn it around. It just degenerated to even more stupidity than before. I am kind of sad that they canceled it before they could have their last season. I would have at least liked to have gotten, closure.
Right.
But anyway, in the process of getting through the last episodes of Westworld, my subscription had like the rest of the month to go, and House of the Dragon, there was enough time to catch 2 or 3 episodes of it before the subscription ran out. So I just told myself, hey, I've got those 3 episodes for free before the subscription runs out. Might as well watch them, just because I just want to see how much worse this is than Game of Thrones. And yeah, man, it was such a nice feeling.
Surprise. Yeah, nice surprise.
Yeah. And of course, the scene where the series, as heading to the throne after, suffering from all of his illnesses and stuff. It's just, oh man, that was such a powerful scene. I loved that immensely. They had such great characters.
Throwback to the best parts, of the early Game of Thrones series. When you had a lot of moments like that, and it's a shame that they're almost called out now because they're so relatively rare. But I remember thinking that too, like, oh man, this is cool. And Matt Smith, man, he stole the show.
He did,
so to speak.
He really did. He really did. And I didn't even, when people were, trying to make a thing out about, oh, there's not supposed to be any black folks in this and all this, and I didn't even care. I was like, I just overlooked it. I'm like, whatever, man. It's the acting is good, the story is good. I don't give a shit who this guy is. I don't give a shit what color he is. I just care that it's a good story and I'm enjoying it. I'm having a good time with it. This is what I want out of my show. I don't want to be preached to. I don't want to be lectured to. Just want to have a good show and have a good time. That's all.
Yeah, when I was initially, I don't want to say I was like, oh, it's fine. I was like maybe a tad wary, and I'm like, I just want to see how they play this, and they played it perfectly because literally they don't even the race isn't even really addressed.
No,
it's not like he's black or that they're black down at the Driftwood throne, and they're saying that they're special because of it. That's just it. And I'm like, okay, that's the way to handle it.
Yeah, it's perfect. I mean, just this is what it is. Let's just move on with it. It is, don't call any special attention to it.
Yep, for sure. Absolutely. Now I'm sure you've been been paying attention to the whole Kyle Brink thing.
Oh man.
What are your thoughts on that?
I'm in a weird place on it. I caught your show, and then of course I caught the meme, and I posted up the meme, and I had so many people going back and forth on my thread on it, with people defending it, and mostly people were pretty down on it. My feeling is he should never have opened his damn mouth. I think he screwed up in a big way. At a time when Wizards of the Coast needed something positive to come out of what they had. He opened his mouth and he just pretty much bombed the whole Tales from the Golden Shower, as I call it, their new release that they're bringing out.
Yes, that's a good one.
In fact, today I caught no less than four posts from D&D Beyond trying to sell me a copy of Tales from the Golden Shower.
Wow.
And man, those tweets were being ratioed like you would not believe. And almost every single time they were bringing back the Brink tweet or saying, it's like, oh, no, you don't want me. I'm a white man. And yep, there's my boy Ironcaster right there. Could not do my show without him. He's my ride or die.
Sweet. How you doing, Ironcaster? Welcome. Yeah, so, it was I was kind of worried, and because there was a point yesterday where I was kind of like, all right, I'm not seeing too many others, and especially on YouTube, commenting on this. I think Pundit did a video, which I was thankful for, but I'm like, oof. I'm like,
Tankars has gone on it now. A lot of folks have posted up on it.
Yeah, they started to trickle in, but then you started to be like, all right, well, here's Clownfish, and I'm like, once Clownfish did it, I'm like, all right, cool. Now it's sort of legit, and then like Archcast did a good video on it too.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, all right, they can't just weasel their way out and just say like, see, it's just these, this tiny cadre of, well, that's what they're going to say anyway, but these tiny cadre of right-wing lunatics, that are saying this. So yeah, it definitely was not a good look for sure.
Yeah, and I after rewatching the video and looking at it, it's kind of like, okay, I see what he was trying to say, but man, it came out bad and it came out twisted. And I'm just kind of like, if you're gonna leave yourself wide open to get your words twisted up that bad, it's like, buddy,
yeah.
What were you? I mean, it's not like he's just a nobody. He's like supposed to be the guy in charge.
He reports directly to what's her name, Cynthia Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's his direct report.
Whew. I would not want to be him right now. I imagine they're probably taking him to task over that. Or at the very least, they're probably reviewing how they're going to handle the damage now because,
Yep.
Next month is the release of their big movie that they're banking on.
Oh yeah, it is creeping up on us, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
As part of the morbid curiosity in me wants to see it, but I will not give them any money for it. What I might do is maybe I'll go and just buy a ticket for a movie that's showing it around the same time, and then I'll just go into the D&D theater instead. Just kind of watch it for free just to see if it's as terrible as I think it might be. But who knows? But either way, I'm not paying them for it. I'm not giving them any ticket revenue.
Well, I'll say this. As of right now, as of close today, right now, Hasbro stock is at $59.37 USD. That's down another 80 cents, and it's down $1.34 over the past 5 days.
Yeah, I mean that.
Yep.
It was over 100 right last year, like year to year, wasn't it?
I'd have to look at the year, but at the year to year, I'm just checking out the market summary for on a 1 day, 5 day, 1 month, 6 month, year to date, and everything. But yeah, brutal. It's down $4.33 over the past month. It's down $18.59 over the last 6 months, and it's down $2.58 over the year to date. So it's crashing, man. It's going down.
I've been in stocks like that, and it is not a good feeling when you're trapped in a stock like that. It's in a tailspin, and I mean, fortunately for the I guess the investors, they're big enough. They probably won't, they don't have to do like a reverse split or anything. But damn, you're looking there and you're like, well, this money is tied up for at least two or 3 years. Maybe they'll recover.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, the big hope for everybody is kind of hoping against hope. They're like, okay, well, let's say that Wizards of the Coast tanks and gets down to the point where Hasbro wants to sell it off, and as I've already told people, it's like Hasbro's not in the habit of selling off their properties. They'll ice it, right, and they'll shelve it for I don't know how long until they think it's ready to go back on, but they're not gonna get rid of it. They'll just quietly tuck it away, and I don't know. I guess when they think everybody's forgotten everything, they'll come out with a real D&D 6th edition, maybe in 10 years time or something. I don't know.
Well, Kyle did a interview today, and maybe we can kind of EFAP a little bit of that. I've jotted down some high points where we could jump in. But yeah, one of the questions was, so is with all this that happened in the last month, does that mean that 6th edition is going to be pushed back? And I could see them doing that because the closer it is, to this month of disaster that they've had, I mean, the worse it is. They want to push it out probably as far as they, logically can.
Yeah. I think it's hilarious how everyone else has been responding after the OGL news. Goodman Games, they put up a post that said January was the best month of sales ever for Goodman Games, and then Autark, my favorite, came out and said, "Hey, thank you, Wizards of the Coast, for making this the best month we've ever had at sales." And I died laughing, man. I love Alexander McCrease. He's a sharp dude, and he has a good system.
Autark. Okay, I'll have to check him out. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Adventure Conqueror King system. It's great.
Yes,
good system.
Oh yeah. I didn't realize that was him. Okay, yeah. Don't they always they do an acronym for that adventure? ACE. What is it called?
ACE.
You say ACE. Yeah, that's it. Yes, that's how I've heard it referred to. Yeah, I'm sure Troll Lord had a fantastic month.
Oh man, yeah,
their 5e stuff, and the Castles and Crusades had to have been going like gangbusters.
Oh man, no kidding. I mean, I'm sure they're dumping their 5e stuff as fast as they possibly can. And yeah, I'm sure sales of their main game. And it's funny. just before the OGL stuff, everybody was coming after Troll Lord Games. Oh, you don't want to declare one way or the other. You're actually declaring for the oppressors. And I'm just kind of like, no, they just want to stay neutral. They don't want to be a part of any of this garbage. They just want to sell a damn game, and
that's all we want. That's all we want. Just don't say it. You don't have to say anything that backs up our side, but just please stay out of it. They pulled themselves masterfully out of that Jason Vey little mini controversy, where he just kind of went on a little Twitter bender, had a bad day. And I give him credit. I mean, it seems like he's been a good boy since. Seems like he listened. So he must respect those guys. So,
and he's a sharp guy. He is. I've got a lot of Jason Bay products. I mean, just
that's what I said after. I said, look, he did the right thing. He apologized. I'm sure he probably isn't, simpatico with a lot of our politics or whatever. But I said, let's not punish the guy unduly. If you like his stuff, give him a second chance. Go for it. It's the way to be.
Yeah.
If they're doing the right thing.
Here's what I think is so funny. After the OGL thing dropped and everybody started pretty much abandoning the cratering vessel that is 5e, you had a whole bunch of people who, jumped ship, and they're going to Pathfinder 2nd Edition, which is funny because from the beginning, Paizo has always had a more liberal, LGBTQ friendly stance on their products. I mean, they had some of the first transgender characters as main characters in their games. They had, they had gay couples in their games, and they've never sold, they never tried to bank their game on that. They don't come out and say, look, we're Paizo and we have homosexual characters and transgender characters. Why don't you play our game? They never tried to do that. It was very low key. It was very subtle. And I always liked that about them. The fact that, they always had such positive response for that. And here's the funny thing. It's like for years, we kept trying to tell the 5e crowd, I was like, hey, there are other games out there that you might like better. There is no reason to keep trying to change this one to fit you.
Right. Exactly.
And so I'm glad they've discovered Paizo. I'm glad they discovered Pathfinder 2nd Edition. I welcome them to it. Please enjoy Pathfinder 2nd Edition. And then everybody else who, either doesn't want to be involved with that politic or anything else, they've got Troll Lord Games. They've got Axe. They've got Goodman Games, for better or for worse. They've got all these other systems they can mess with. And it's great.
Do you not like DCC? Is that not your cup of tea?
I like DCC as a system. There is some question of their politics. They've, if you've seen the infamous, green, yellow, red list, it just got updated and DCC got dropped into the red category.
I thought they were always in red. In fact, I know they were because I did a video on that list.
Was that right?
Okay. In the earlier days of my channel, yeah. And this is where, I thought that the list on the RPG site is a good thing overall, but I also said it's a starting point. So you may want to do some investigation, because I could never understand. I understand what they were saying, because I think they might have donated to BLM, during the Summer of Love, which is, I don't know, obviously not good. But in the same respect, you go through their Twitter. I don't see him insulting fans. I see him pretty much sticking to gaming, and it's like the other thing they did is they updated the language in their rule book to just neutral, like not like pronouns they, them, but you know what I mean? Neutral writing, not he or she, just it or they or whatever stuff that honestly, I mean, I think too, they kind of highlighted it like, ooh, see what we're doing, when really, if they had just done it, I wonder how many people would have actually noticed, you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, not to bomb Pundit, because, Pundit's a friend of mine, but, Pundit's personal home game, the one that he's been running for years and years and years, is DCZ. So
yeah, he mentioned that. Yeah, he when I was on inappropriate characters, he mentioned that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love the system. I'm looking
Yeah.
at it, because we're ready to pull out, and I've kind of told the group, like, I think they know, like, I'm just kind of getting burnt out of 5e just because of just the power creep, and just it's a little cheesy. It's hard. They think it's easier for a DM. It's actually not. When they get to a certain level, you have to really just start amping up, like, the opposition, because if you have a halfway decent group, that's kind of tweaked out and can think on their feet, man, they will steamroll stuff that you think is going to challenge them.
Well, I got two options for you before you go there. I got two options for you, and they're from the same guy. All right. First one is, if you want a game that feels like your old school BX kind of feeling, but the rules are very simple, and they also favor small groups and lots of heroic action, and not necessarily having to have the absolute perfect party build, I'm going to tell you to buy Scarlet Heroes.
Okay.
I run that on Sundays, and it's been a lot of fun so far. I've been running it for a while now, actually. I like it. That is that's done by Kevin Crawford. You can find that from Cine Nomine Publishing, up on DTRPG. And the other one is Worlds Without Number, which is also by Kevin Crawford. I
think I've heard that.
Yeah. It takes everything that you like about the old games, and instead of trying to make all these different classes and all these different races and all this different stuff, it gives you basically a framework wherein you have 3 basic classes, and depending on what you tweak them with, what skill sets, you can make your characters function like any other class in any other book, any other way you want. And
nice.
It has a base race of basically everybody is humans. But if you want to play an elf, or you want to play a halfling, you want to play a dwarf, whatever, and they have tons of races, that is taken up as part of your class pick stuff. So it balances out now. Yeah.
I will definitely check those out. Can't guarantee they will fly, but I will give them an I'll give them an honest look. Absolutely.
And and here's the best part: they're free.
That's nice. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Now it is worth paying for the deluxe editions, so you can get everything.
Yeah.
But if you just want to check them out and see what the rules are like, and go, oh yeah, maybe I get some ideas off of this. Check out the free rules. At the very least, the one thing you can take away from Scarlet Heroes that is well worth it is the way that they conduct their combat matrices, as far as how hit point damage and hit dice damage is dealt between characters and monsters. And their fray dice, which is in both systems, is awesome. That's one of the best mechanics I've ever seen, and it is something I'm going to be implementing something similar in my own game that I'm building.
Fray dice? Can you explain that a little?
Sure. Okay, so every character has a fray dice, which is a dice, and depending on what class it is, it can be bigger or smaller. And the way the fray dice works is it is a free action that represents small actions on the part of the character during combat. Riposts, quick shots of magic or whatever that can be done at range or at melee. And when you throw a fray dice, it hits automatically. There's no 2-hit roll, but it hits automatically, and it does a certain amount of damage. Now, as far as most classes go, it can only be used against things that are of equal or lower hit dice. But mages have the advantage in that it can be used against a monster of any size. So it's like if a mage runs out of spells, he's still got his fray dice to continue to fight with, and it's effective against everything. And your fighter, who may have to deal with lots and lots of opponents, still has extra attacks, still feels powerful, still has, another little ace up his sleeve to take down enemies with.
That is sweet. Yeah,
it's very good.
I'll definitely check that out. My wife was complaining because we're going through Greg Gillespie's Barrow Maze, and her regular character, she kind of like like when they got out of the dungeon, she had her like move on and just played like a temporary, like a mercenary fighter, and she was just shaking her head, not angry or anything, but she's like rolling her dice and she's doing the math at the table, and she tells me afterwards, she's like, I'm supposed to be a mercenary fighter, and I think at maximum damage, I hit the least, like I can do the least amount of damage, amongst like a thief, a ranger, stuff like that. And she's like, I just don't understand. And I'm like, welcome to 5th edition. I mean, you didn't tweak out your character, like I guess like you should have, but disheartening sometimes. But we will definitely be looking for alternatives. I think also what I wanted to say was they had on that list, they had Goodman Games in the red. And I think honestly, realistically, put them in the yellow for what they did. Red, I think, is for someone like Evil Hat, who will tell you are a Nazi if you believe, this. That's what red should be. Red should not be, like, hey, we gave money to a questionable charity, or, we're kind of doing, flirting with this, but they don't actively insult their fans. But yet they got Pinnacle up in green there, Deadlands. And it's like, okay, so you're dinging Goodman Games for just changing the the wording to an updated format. Yeah, for God's sakes, Deadlands removed the Civil War, that whole thing from Deadlands. The fact that it was still going on, or the South fought to a stalemate. Good Lord, why are you punishing one and not the other? I never understood that.
I got a few friends out here to shout out to real quick. You got Old Schooler, you got Shauner out there. And yeah, RuneQuest. I love RuneQuest, Shauner. And it's a great system. My players won't play it. They burned out on RuneQuest back in the 70s and 80s, and they won't play it. As many times as I've tried to request a RuneQuest game.
It's BRP, right?
Yeah, it is. And it's still good. It's a great game. I had so much fun with RuneQuest.
It's a good thing about BRP. It's just the that sort of system is kind of evergreen. It's just because it's percentage. It's always easy to comprehend.
Yeah, and the power creep is pretty much non-existent, because the characters, it doesn't matter how many years you've been playing, you can still get killed pretty quick in combat if your dice go against you.
That's what I always like. I mean, there should always be a little bit of danger. Everybody knocked 4th edition, in some respects rightly so. In some respects, we kind of liked it for some things. And one of the things I liked was, in the DM's guide, or the monster manuals, they would give you like a creature at like 3 different levels. Like, here's a low level goblin, here's a mid level, here's a high level. So you could kind of challenge a party, with what would be considered like a cakewalk monster. But anything that's drawing, a sword on you, or drawing an arrow on you should be a threat. It should never be like, well, I know, just based on my hit points that this thing can't do X amount of, it should never be like that ever. Right.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny. That's a whole nother thing I'll get into with you on it, because Grim had a really good video about that I also agree with. But really quick, I want to answer this. Authoritative News Network says, historian, how do you handle faction turn? Solo, or do you get the players involved? Well, I've never had faction turn come up. Funny thing is, my players don't want to get involved in any of that stuff. They believe it or not, they're old school, and they're almost of the wandering murder hobo variety. Now, that doesn't mean they actually go around murdering townspeople for XP or anything like that. It's just, rather than set down roots and try to build a base and all that sort of stuff, they just go from place to place and wander. And so I have had to adapt my playing style to sandbox play. And instead of actually running full-on modules, I just rip pieces out of modules and use those as little set pieces here and there, or enemy statistics here and there. Which is my
Do you play in person?
Absolutely.
Sweet.
Yeah, I've got my in-person games on Friday nights, and then I've got my online games on Sunday mornings.
Nice. Yeah, we do. We've done Friday nights for over 20 years now. Same group, same campaign. It's a lot of fun, man.
Oh yeah.
Occasionally we'll get. We used to get more. We get the occasional snide comment from the spouses, and then I think they just came to accept it. learn to do other things on Friday night. My friend Rogan, especially, like we always joke because his wife is notorious for saying on Friday night at 8 o'clock when he's heading over, and he's getting ready to head out the door, and she'll go, "Where are you going?" So he'll be like, "Same place I've been going for the last 20 years, honey." Yeah, we'll see you later.
Randy Nichols, that's another guy out there. Hey, Randy, it's good to see you. He's from the Big Geeks. He's a good guy, Randy is.
How you doing, Randy? Welcome. Yeah, nice to see some. Definitely see a couple of new faces in here, so to speak. Yeah, definitely. You guys remember, if you're not already, if you're one of my subs and somehow not already subbed to T-shirted historian, go over and check out his channel and give him a sub. Yeah, just look at his stuff too. Like I said, he has a lot of good panel discussions. That's probably where you want to start, right? Look at some of those.
We definitely every week we're talking about something, and here lately, WotC has pretty much been the dog that we just can't stop talking about, because it's just every week, where I'm looking over at Ironcaster, I'm like, oh, good, we've got, what have we got to talk about this week? Well, WotC did this. Oh, WotC again. We got to talk about them again.
It's fatiguing. It can be fatiguing. It's I can see how some YouTubers who are kind of this is their thing, especially the bigger ones. I can almost see it turning into kind of a sad thing, because if you're one of those big guys, maybe like Gary Beekler, or Doomcock or something, it's like you kind of have to be on all that stuff that you cover, because your audience is sort of expecting it. And I got just kind of a little taste of it with like this whole Kyle Brink, and man, yesterday by the time I went to bed yesterday, I made more tweets yesterday than I probably did the last month, and I'm like, it did not feel good, but I felt sort of like, well, I probably should, just to kind of keep it up. It was good for the channel. Look, the last 2 days have been great. Thanks, Wizards of the Coast, I guess. I got my highest viewed video. I got like 130 subs in like 2 days. Crazy, but it's still just very just kind of drains you. And like you said, it's like these people, it's like staring too long into the abyss.
Mm-hmm.
And they are the abyss right now.
The funny thing is, before I was even doing YouTube, I made a post, and it, Twitter doesn't give you a lot of characters to work with, so I could understand where it could be misinterpreted. But I had just been running a game of Godbound, which is another game of Crawford's, and playing with me is one of my veteran friends who, grew up with me, went to school with me, been playing games, since we were kids back in high school. And for some reason that night, every time he would want to do something in character, he would keep saying, okay, well, my character says this. And I'm just like, Roy, come on, man. You're a gamer. Come on, you just say it. Your character wants to say this to the character. Yeah, just say it to the NPC. Like, talk to me. Like,
you can suss it out. Yeah.
Yeah, and it irritated me after a little while. And I wrote a pissed off tweet about it, and I said I hate it when I have veteran gamers at the table and they still talk in third person when it comes to the NPCs instead of speaking in character. And man, it's just you'd have think I'd come out and said something like, the Holocaust was a lie. because it's just everybody in the world just came out of Twitter sphere screaming at me, "You're a gatekeeper. You're a horrible person because you said this." And I'm just like, you don't even know the context of what I'm talking about. What the hell are you even on about?
Yep.
It's like,
there's no nuance. Even if you had tried to be like, "Oh, hold on, I wasn't, this is what I was talking about." It's too late.
Yeah, and I tried that several times. I tried to explain. It's like, no, dude, this is what we're doing. Yeah, well, you're still a bad person because you did it. That's the only way he could communicate. And I'm just like, no, it's not. He's a veteran gamer. He knows what he's doing. He was just being an idiot.
It's blood sports. It can be blood sport. It's like some people just view it that way, and that's why I don't. I've resolved to myself never to take it too seriously. I use it to occasionally I'll tweet, things on my feed, that I believe or I think is funny, and then, a lot of the other stuff is just kind of channel promotion, channel related stuff. But I never thought I'd be making this many tweets, and I'm looking up at my tweet counter, because you can see it on your profile page, and I'm like, oh my God, at this rate, I'm going to end up with X thousand tweets. And I'm like, I never wanted to be that person. So once this whole Wizards thing dies down, I'm going to try to keep a much lower profile if I can at all help it. Brutal.
It is. And yeah, Sean, I know that now. Never explain or apologize to them. Yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah, I know that now. But back then I was a Twitter noob. And I had never been, I'd never had them dogpile me like that before. So it was kind of a shock the first time it happened.
I think Jordan Peterson, has the right of that. I think it was him who said it. He's like, don't ever apologize, because you're not apologizing to people. It's like you're apologizing to an ideal, and it's incapable sometimes of accepting that apology. So sometimes it's just easier to just ride it out.
Yeah.
What can you do?
Yeah. There's nothing you can do. It's just you got to just ride the wave, and and then the cool thing is if you've been honest, and you've made friends, and you've shown people your true colors, and it's like, hey, this is who I really am, and I'm a no bullshit guy, and this is where I'm coming from. You'll make friends on Twitter, and those friends will come to your defense. Because more than likely, they feel the same way you do. And, they don't want to listen to some dude just trying to ratio your ass. So
I'm starting to find my place. At first, I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. You're a YouTuber. Mm-hmm. You're trying to find out, like, what's my audience? Who's my audience? And it does sort of slowly come to you. And, especially over the last month or so, I have a good indication of, what I am, who I am, and probably my limitations too. I have to kind of realize, like, all right, I'm not a firebrand, but I say probably just enough controversial stuff that, look, there's going to be some people that, even if they might silently agree with me, they don't want to have anything to do with me. And I'm like, that's okay. I'd rather have that freedom, than be compromised and be like, well, if I don't want to offend anyone, so I'm just going to not say this. It's like, I think there is a line you can walk. You don't have to be a pig-headed idiot. You don't have to insult people unnecessarily, but you can call people out, that need to be called out. And that's sort of my thing right now.
Well, I think you did a phenomenal job, considering, your rise to the top was meteoric compared to mine. Mine's been a slow creep, but don't
give up, because I saw a woman, and she was just saying, like, look, here's my channel, and it was like a flat line. She's like, all I can say is just keep going, because at multiple points here, I felt like I'm going to stop. And she's like, if I had just gone, and then all of a sudden you see her channel, and she's like a travel blogger or something, it just explodes up. She went from like 1,000 to like 5,000. Now it's like over 20,000. You never know, like, when the algorithm is going to hit you. Like we said earlier, it's luck.
It is
a lot of it. What got you into YouTube? Like, what got you started?
Well, to be honest, a few years back, I started watching a friend on Twitch, Kenny Boucher, and I first caught a wind of him on YouTube.
Kenny Boucher, the 40K painter guy.
Yeah, because at the time, time I was trying to get back into miniature painting because I had just bought Zombicide and I wanted to paint all those miniatures up and I wanted to learn some techniques and skills. And so, I hung out on Kenny's Twitch channel for the longest time and he was very encouraging. He's a good guy. And
for sure.
Then started kind of getting over to the YouTube scene. Started watching Doomcock, started watching Gary at Nerdrotic, and started, becoming a fan of my own. And one day I met up with another guy on Twitter, Fat Steven Seagal, who was a very small YouTuber at the time, and really funny guy. I used to rib him every single day on Twitter by showing him the Steven Seagal with a carrot in his mouth joke. And the deal is, his name is Fat Steven Seagal. Well, I actually trained under Steven Seagal in Aikido. Not directly. Yeah, not directly. I trained under his top student, Matsuoka Sensei. Haruo Matsuoka.
You have a lineage. You got a lineage to Steven.
Yeah. Well, it's
nice.
It's not much of one, but it is one. I think he's pretty much divorced himself from Tenshin Dojo at this point. But yeah, so I told him, I said, I actually, worked with his top student. I watched all his old Aikido videos and all these kind of things too. Because the students had video footage of him. So yeah, he got interested in me and we started talking and stuff and I was making him laugh. He introduced me to other YouTubers who pulled me into their channels and started having me on their panels. And eventually they, kind of got me to come out of my shell and start getting up on YouTube and doing my own little channel. And one of the other guys who kind of got me encouraged too was Grim, because I watched one of Grim's videos, and here was this guy who, they came after him years and years and years ago, and they just, demonized him, and they continue to demonize him to this day. And my heart kind of went out to the guy. So I told Fat Steven, I said, hey man, can we get this guy on our show, on your show? And you can talk to him because you're a bigger YouTuber than I am. And we can just talk to him and talk about his story. Cause at that time, Fat Steven was doing a lot of stuff about YouTubers who had been, attacked and ratioed and all this other stuff. And Grim was one of the nicest guys to talk to. And we kind of hit it off. We became friends. He was one of the first guys, along with Ironcaster, that I asked to come onto my show on a regular basis, along with a few others. And, people have come and gone from my show, but Grim and Ironcaster are still there after this is like my third year. So
the OGs, huh?
Yeah. My rider dies.
That's the way Rogan and, Gavin Morgan and, Crazy Mouse are. Well, Crazy Mouse is especially, he's my good friend. And when I first said like, hey, I'm going to try this YouTube thing, he was every day he'd be like, hey, how's it going? What's going on with this? He took a great interest in it. And man, to have that kind of support, I know what you mean. It's good to have that safety net.
It's good to have friends. Crazy Mouse asked me how many people I have in my Friday game. I have two guys I play with regularly, and we've been playing since 91. We used to have more, but schedules change. People come, people go. These are the two guys who, we've all stuck together for all these years. So pretty much I can count on them every Friday night. Whoever else shows up is always kind of a toss-up. But yeah, between the three of us, we have a pretty good little game going.
You have like a cutoff, like if X number of people don't show, then we just won't play or we'll do something else, or do you just whoever shows up, you guys are rolling dice no matter what?
Pretty much, just no matter who shows up, we're rolling dice.
Yeah.
So
it's hardcore. Much respect.
Yeah. Our hard limit on number of players is usually about 6. Past that, it's just unmanageable. And I've played in games where the GM had like 10, 11 players. And what we ended up with was you have 10 or 11 players at your table. Two of them are having a conversation with each other the entire game. They're not paying attention to what's going on. A third one is on his phone the entire time, not paying attention to what's going on.
Yep.
A couple others are eating snacks, coming in and out, bored. And you only got about like 2 or 3 people who are actually the GM is paying attention to and interacting and stuff. And that's just not my kind of game.
I agree. Yeah, ours is at 6 now, and it's probably, for the kind of group we have. I have a very engaged. I have a fantastic group of players, and they wholly have bought in, to this world that we've created over the last, almost 30 years now. But yeah, there's times where I'm like, man, I think they just know that, look, there's just going to be nights where, probably 2 of you are just kind of going to get the short shrift as far as attention. Now, you always have the ability to, kind of take center stage if you want, but, it's just the DM's time is, a finite commodity at the table. So I always try to make sure I get everybody, and at least, kind of address them a little bit. But man, it's 10 people at a table. I played a game at Gen Con like that. I think it was like 2 huge tables pushed together, and me and Gavin Morgan went, and maybe Rogan was there too. And I'm like, holy shit! I'm like, this is like, I said, there's going to be this many people here. And I think what happened was the DM ended up having to cancel, like their car broke down or something. They were coming in, and I was like, thank fucking God. Like, I would not have wanted to play. And this 12 people in a game?
No way.
Not a chance, man. Especially you're at a convention. Your time there is almost as valuable as money. So yeah, to play a bad game at a convention, sometimes you just gotta, if you committed to it, you just gotta bite your lip and just take it. But that was one. I probably would have just kind of snuck out of, because I don't know if I would have been missed if it had gone off.
No, probably not. I mean, who's going to notice one extra player? They're almost counting on 1 or 2 people to bow out at that point, I think.
Yeah, they don't care, which probably shows you the value of your game. If people can just get up and leave and it's not going to affect anything, well, maybe you need to rethink this game. Have you ever been to one of those bigger conventions? Or do you just do?
No. I went. I have kind of a funny and now famous story about that. I went to Origins back in '93.
Okay.
And I'm only like about 20 years old at the time, and still pretty much a wet behind the ears kid. Don't know shit from Shinola, but I know I like games, and I'm working at a game store at that time. So standing in line for something, I don't remember what, and this dude starts walking up. He's literally like, I could have reached out and touched him on the shoulder, and I recognized him from his name tag, and then put the face of the name. It's Mike Pondsmith, the Mike Pondsmith, the Mr. Cyberpunk himself.
Yeah. Holy shit!
Yeah, and
wow.
Yeah, and I'm so awestruck because here I got all the damn Cyberpunk stuff that's out at the time from Cyberpunk 2020.
Yeah.
And I was so awestruck. I couldn't say anything to him. My mouth open, nothing came out. He walked right on by, and my moment was gone, and I never got it back. And I've kicked myself in the ass for that ever since. And I still, to this day, I vow every single day on my channel. It's like, Mike Pondsmith, you will talk to me someday.
I
will get that
a second chance.
Yes, I will get that second chance someday. I may have to grow my channel a lot bigger to get your attention, but I will do it.
Holy shit! Yeah, that was.
But at that same convention, there was another guy. He was bald, mustached. He had this combat shirt looking on, big old combat boots with camouflage pants tucked into them. Looked real menacing. Then I caught a look at his name tag. And it was like, that's Mark Reinhagen. That's the creator of Vampire the Masquerade.
Yeah, World of Darkness guy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the creator of Vampire the Masquerade. And same thing happened. Couldn't talk to him. Just I missed both of my shots in that same day. But the nice thing is this last summer, I finally got to sit down and talk to Mark Reinhagen.
Oh,
and I've had him on my show twice.
Oh, sweet. Is he a nice guy?
Oh, dude, he is so awesome. He is the nicest guy in the world, and he's so intelligent. And it's so funny. One of my panelists who is usually pretty chatty. He was almost dead silent the entire time. And I said, Kringe, is there anything you want to ask Mark? And he says, well, every time I want to ask him something, he answers it before I even before I ask him. And I'm just like, yeah, he's good, isn't he?
Yeah, some people are just like that. Yeah. Boy, what an impact that game had in the 90s, which, we never played Vampire then. We played like some just generic World of Darkness in the aughts. But even back then, when we were doing D&D second edition, it was hard to ignore the effect. It was either D&D or Vampire. That's what people were playing as far as role playing games, and Vampire was pretty high up there as far as taking over. D&D. It was a phenomenon, man.
Charlotte Williams, I did not have the Cyberpunk V3. We don't talk about that edition. It wasn't out at the time. Remember, it was 1993. Cyberpunk 2020 was all the rage at that time. So V3 wasn't out at that point. In fact, I think Cyber Generation came out not too long after that.
Right. What does Mark think of the state of Vampire now? Were you able to ask him that, or does he?
That's kind of the funny thing. I talked to one of the guys who works with him, who got us the interview ahead of time, and I said, "Well, Jason, is there stuff can I talk to Mark about Vampire?" And he says, "Oh, yeah, he likes talking about it, but he gets a little bit sensitive about some of that stuff. So, because they screwed him out of his company, man. And I can only imagine how that must feel. So I didn't ask him how he feels about Vampire now. I did ask him what his favorite clan was, and his reply was really canny. He said, "Well, how can I have a favorite amongst all my children? Because all the clans are aspects of my own personality." So,
oh, for sure. Yeah. Like any creator. Yeah. It's hard to choose.
Yeah. But I love Mark Reinhagen so much. And he's got a new game in the works, Lost Lorn.
Lost Lorn. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know when that is. He hit his kickstarting funding goal during our interview. But for some reason he pulled it from Kickstarter and decided, no, we're not going to go through with this. I think he's retooling it or he's rethinking the market or something right now. But I keep in touch with his guy Jason, semi regularly. So
yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
he's a great
I will
guy.
definitely. I assume you can find those in your past catalog of videos, right?
Oh yeah. On our Dungeons and Discussions. Yeah.
Dungeons and I will definitely check that out. Yeah, I'd love to watch that.
Oh yeah,
what do you say we do a little EFAP of the interview from earlier today?
Sure, why not?
Pick out some highlights. We'll see. This is
Charlotte Williams, I can answer that. Dracula's a Tzimisce.
Hello and welcome to Mastering Dungeons. Today I am super excited to have with us, instead of Sean Merwin, Kyle Brink, the executive director for the D&D studio. Welcome, Kyle, to the show. How are you doing?
It's a white man.
Right. Exactly. I think Tios is Latino, like you, maybe like yourself.
Maybe.
I'm glad to hear it.
He's not as dark as the three black halflings, though. So
no,
shame on you, wizards.
Actual DM setup here. I run my games from this very chair.
That's nice. I like it.
It just looks like a normal bookshelf. I think he was thinking like, this is my fantastic DM setup back here. It's like,
yeah, it's all Wizards of the Coast books on a shelf behind him too.
It's a bunch of Wizards of the Coast books stacked the wrong way.
Very cool. And I can see the wider shot, so I can see more of the things that are hanging on the walls. It's very
there you go.
And speaking of you running home games, I have a Patreon subscriber who says great things about you. Randy Farmer was saying,
Oh, Randy, yeah, cool, yeah,
he's a really nice guy. So,
okay,
glad we got that out of the way.
Yeah,
Randy Farmer.
Randy Farmer.
Just
no Patreon subscriber. I didn't even know this guy had a Patreon. What does he do on Patreon? Now I got to look this up.
He is a creator. I looked at his stuff. He does have some credits to him, but it's not stuff that like I think there must have been a first Candlekeep book, and I think he was involved in that. That it's just a bunch of stuff that I don't either escape my memory, or I just didn't. I don't know.
I want to start with just a couple of sort of like, approach for any folks who are out there listening. Most people who know our show know us and sort of how we operate on the show, but we always provide our questions ahead of time. Though I did send them this morning. So
well, that's nice.
Time to prep. So.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah, he gave him the questions ahead of time.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he did after that last one. Shit. Kyle's probably like, I don't want to be ambushed again.
How much more obsequious can you be, though? I mean, I sent him the questions. I didn't want to offend him.
Sorry, but we did provide you our questions, and we said that anything that you don't want to answer, you're absolutely welcome to say. Life is complicated because it is. We work with corporations, and there are a lot of things that are just more complicated than one can explain.
Now, see, that's kind of normal to do. You got a guest coming on your show, and it's like, ahead of time, usually you ask like, hey, is there anything you don't want me to ask about, or is there anything that's absolutely a taboo topic? I can understand that, but I don't ever prep a guest with my questions ahead of time. I mean, it's like, Pundit came onto my channel, and he was just like surprised. He's like, oh, you want to talk about game theory and design? And I'm like, yeah, what did you think I wanted to talk to you about? I'm a gaming channel, man. Didn't bring you on here to talk about politics. Shit.
I just get a feeling it probably was like a list of questions, and he probably asked every single one of them in order. That not just like a general like, hey, maybe I think it's okay to say, hey, we're probably going to touch on this subject and this subject, if you kind of want to have an idea of where it might go. And yeah, you're right. If there's any like no-go zones, like, hey, is there something that you're going to storm off over, so we don't have some kind of a thing. But man, this guy just seems like, I called this like an infomercial earlier. It's kind of what it seemed like, one of those cheesy, like, 80s, 90s, like infomercials.
Kyle, I'd like to know the exact length of your penis, if you could, please.
That's super. Hey, life's complicated, man. I'm going to use that as a like a legal excuse now. Get into trouble.
Truly. Tell
the policeman, officer, life's complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
In this kind of an environment. So you're always welcome to do that. And we're going to work on keeping this positive. So feel free to interject, ask questions. If you have questions of us, of the community, absolutely do.
Feel free to keep this positive. Like, as in, whoever has a guest on your show and everything you want to ask them is negative. So let me ask you something, diversity.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel? How do you feel about euthanasia? And of course, anything you say will be used against you immediately.
Exactly. It's like this guy is when he first opened his mouth, and I'm like, but I hate to kind of stereotype, but when he opened his mouth, I was like, this is not a tough guy. I mean, I don't know. He had that sort of tone. Right from Jump Street, like, yeah, this is going to be a puff piece.
It is a puff piece. Yeah. We pre-screened all your questions and we made it all safe. And is your pillow fluffed enough, sir?
Yeah.
It's like,
It's just, what? Hold up an X card if I'm getting too close to something.
Yeah, I like that. Real Vector. Have you stopped hating your customers?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
When was the last time you stopped hating your customers? Oh, you used to hate your customers.
For him to go through, because I'm sure everybody knows by now, for him to go through this entire interview and not address that comment is simply unforgivable. Unforgivable.
And see, I think,
to pretend it didn't happen.
Well, I think the only reason he even did this interview is because, like the 3 Black Halflings interview, I think he is really trying to do damage control and trying to pump up the goodwill and get everybody back on board the WotC train. And I'm kind of like, ain't nobody falling for this, man. The only people who are still supporting you are the diehards and, you know, the fanboys. And it's like I kind of want to tell him up on Twitter. It's like, I don't know why you're defending this guy. He's the mouthpiece of a corporation. They're not going to send you a bunch of free products. You know, I promise you, Chris Perkins is not going to come over to your house and shake your hand or give you a blowjob. Okay, why are you defending them so hard? Just ease
Shocking.
The fuck back, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. It's unbelievable the lengths that some of these people will defend this company.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So let's start with what your D&D background is. How did you get started with D&D?
Nobody wants to discuss this. I mean, there's items in the news about this, and he's just like, oh, tell me about your grandmother. You know, what kind of an effect did she have on you? All right, so I think there's 23 minutes. I think he starts with that silly like meta stuff. I'm gonna try to play here. We'll see.
There are online spaces out there where the internet is doing what it does quite graphically, and imagine a virtual reality space where that happened, and that was people's idea of D&D. And if that's what people associated with D&D, people would very quickly go, "Oh, you play D&D? Isn't that video porn game?" No, God, no. I'm just playing regular D&D.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's unpack that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to show that one to Grim. I'll bet he'll get a laugh about that.
It's at the 23-minute mark. Yeah, a little before the 23-minute mark. They go into this.
And now, if you don't know Grim Jim, Grim's my, like I said, he's one of my ride or dies. He's my good friend, and right now he is actively engaged in running I think he's running Vampire tonight, a vampire game for Tabletop, which is a group of sex workers, cam girls, who that's what they do for entertainment. I mean, they play role playing games to unpack because they're normal human beings like everybody else. They like to have a good time when they're not stripping.
Hell yeah.
And it's a fun show. So obviously this is him, taking a snap at that. And I don't like that, because every time you mention something like that in the same breath, it's just kind of like, oh, are you trying to deflect? What's your real issue there, Kyle?
It's very disingenuous because they know damn well that nobody could call what they're doing. Let's just say worst case scenario, somebody was doing this. He knows damn well they couldn't call it Dungeons and Dragons. That is their property. That's their IP. Mm-hmm. It would not fly. They would have grounds to immediately, cease and desist.
And the funny thing is they play 5e. It's like,
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's like, didn't Zach Sabbath he used to do that too, like D&D with like porn stars, I think it was.
Yeah,
which I never had a problem with. And
no.
I mean, it's stuff like that can be kind of amusing and fun. I mean, look, if it's adults are watching and adults are enjoying it, who the hell cares?
It doesn't hurt anybody. I mean, shit. I mean, just have and it's like we've always told people. Well, actually, it's kind of like I said in my rant. Who you invite to your table and how you run your game is your business. Okay, it's not. We don't need the WotC police to go and make the game safe for us by telling us who we can and can't have at our tables. Okay, that's bullshit. Yes, and you better believe that they're going to enforce something to that effect on their VTT, and they're going to do it hardcore because they're partnered up with Roll20. And if you haven't seen the kind of politics that Roll20 rolls with, shit.
I brought that up on Twitter. I remember just a few years ago, that YouTuber, they wanted to do a show in conjunction with Roll20. Roll20 told them flat out, we don't want to do another show with 5 white dudes.
Mm-hmm. Not only that, but Roll20 is going to have all kinds of restrictions and stuff on what they're going to allow on their platform. And I have made the joke about them having a form of social credit score, but you better believe it. Can you imagine? Okay, it's like you're GMing for a group of whatever you call it, 1 D&D players on your virtual tabletop using Wizards of the Coast crap, and you tell the players, it's like, okay, well, it's really not suitable for you to have a tabaxi in this game because, such and such in this background of this world. That player instantly reports you.
Discrimination.
Uh-huh. And then they get their friends and they tell them what happened, and those friends start reporting you. And before long, you've got Wizards of the Coast breathing down your neck going, well, why did you do this? How come you discriminated against this player by not allowing him to play this race? What was your reason for this? And before long, you're either going to be pulled from that table, you're going to be banned from using their software, or whatever kind of restriction they can put in place on you to stop it from happening again. And it's going to happen over and over and over and over, which is, a lot of people have talked about the AI DM thing, and I think it's a little bit tinfoil hat, but maybe not so much, because I have a feeling the DM space is going to get real, real, real thin by the time 1D&D hits. Because ain't nobody going to want to play it. Nobody going to want to run it.
Oh, yeah. It'll go underground, or, where it should be, as face-to-face as much as you can help it. Yeah, some of this stuff is like, this would have been fodder for like a joke or a skit or like a sketch comedy like 20 years ago. And it's like now, yeah, we're actually talking. Look, the idea, we used to joke like about like, oh yeah, my players would tell me like, yeah, you got to start charging us, to play. Yeah, could you imagine that, a DM that gets paid to run D&D? Ha ha ha. Yeah, that was just like 15, 20 years ago. We had that joke. I mean, that's a reality now. What you just said about the police knocking on your door, the virtual police.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's the dream, obviously, for a lot of people, hey, I'd like to be paid for running a game. That would be awesome. Ironcaster has a really good comment there if you want to highlight that, because he's exactly right. Ironcaster, my boy. Yeah. Story gets embellished, and what started as you saying no to a race in your game for lore reasons turns you into a targeted that player because of that particular istophobe reason. And we saw it happen on Twitter. We saw it happen on Twitter last year. Somebody told somebody in their game that they couldn't play a Vistani because they were playing in Ravenloft, and the Vistani are have kind of a bad reputation. Yeah. And that player went on Twitter and just basically got that guy socially blacklisted for it.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's not, I mean, people say like, oh, we're going to turn into a dystopia. And it's like, we'll probably never get to where, it's like a movie, but we already have pockets of this dystopia working right now. It's like,
in places where it can.
It's like, why do you think I wear sunglasses? It's like, it's not because I want to look cool. It's like, I still have a day job, and there are a lot of people out there with quite a lot of time who have nothing else to do than to try to dock someone and ruin their lives. And I know now I'm small potatoes, but on the off chance, it just takes one psycho who says, I really don't like this guy, and I'm going to ruin his life. That's all it takes these days.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable. Yeah. All right. Let's see what else they have to say.
VR, whatever the hell thing. And while that's not something that's emerged, that's not something I've observed, that's not a thing that I know is a problem today, we were looking ahead. What could emerge? What are we currently unable to prevent or influence or steer clear of? And that
tales of things to come.
What are we currently unable to control?
Yes, exactly. It's like, dude, you guys should not be in the future forecasting business. You can't see, you can't find your own ass right now.
That was one of the things. Our position now is that the community is our strongest weapon against that.
Should have cut it off at our community is the strongest weapon. Period.
Yeah, because they try to weaponize the community against the community.
Oh yeah, yeah. These people are shameless, man.
Oh yeah,
utterly shameless.
Oh yeah, dude. You didn't hear them trying to whip up people against the OSR and everything else. You know, how many times have they tried to paint the OSR as criminals, bad guys, and those horrible people who are, you know, Yahtzees stuck back in the 1940s and don't want you at their table. You know.
Well, as I found out today, anybody that interpreted Kyle Brink's comment as anything but like, you know, an innocent slip of the tongue, you're a part of right wing gaming.
Yeah.
Come on. Ridiculous. All right, I think he actually addresses hateful conduct here at about the 27-minute mark. We'll see what they have to say here.
Hurt by it so far. Why not just put it all in Creative Commons and put this to
maybe go back just a hair.
Large actors from making a mess of things that way. And then from our own trademark and copyright perspective, we should be able to protect the rest of it. And so that combination of what we can protect based on copyright and trademark and what the community can protect in the open space, we think gives us enough protection at this point, which is why Creative Commons was such a great and easy solution for us. When one of the folks on the legal team suggested it, we all jumped on it right away because we realized, you know what, the open gaming license that's been around for 20 years kind of didn't give us any protection. We haven't got hurt by it so far. Why not just put it all in Creative Commons and put this to bed and we'll rely on the protections we have in copyright.
Of course it didn't hurt you. It helped you, you idiot. It did nothing but help you. It was the smartest thing that ever happened to the game because, you know, the very simple fact is, okay, one of the guys you had in your chat, who is one of my regular panelists, is, you know, Greg Lambert from Iries, who created, you know, the Iries Chronicles game.
Okay.
And it's a setting and it's designed to be compatible with 5th edition. So therefore, you have to buy a 5th edition rule book in order to play it.
Yes. Yeah.
So everyone who worked with the OGL was basically funneling money to you through use of their products. So yeah, it was great. It kept your name hot.
Yep.
So the idea that you would even mess with that, it's like, why?
Yeah,
it made no sense.
He does a lot of, you know, during the interview, like, you know, we couldn't see the forest through the trees at the time. And I think at some point he says like, oh, we should have listened to our creative people more, you know, kind of like, like they were the salvation of all this rather than, you know, the angry fans and the subscriber count to your, you know, VTT, you know, just going down, you know, by hundreds of people a day.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I think here is hateful conduct.
Another concern was hateful content. And the community has had trouble with that because we've seen probably the biggest examples that get attention are Wizards of the Coast examples of something that falls short of desirable standards. And
at least he had the guts to say that. I'll give him I'll give him that. But it was in the most you know, mealy mouth way.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen some companies delve into NFTs for sure. You know, I was in an article, a news piece speaking against them. I don't like them at all. But Hasbro has delved into NFTs. And so, you know, and then we look at the incredible number of OGL products that have been created, very few problems overall. So what is the community failing to understand on what Wizards wanted to do with content protection, with content standards?
You know, NFTs were
a couple
never
things.
a
One
thing.
is because we know very well that there is content out there that can be quite hateful. That can be applied to D&D. And
really, like what? Give us an example, Kyle.
Example. Yeah, give one example.
You know, I mean, I haven't yet to see anything that's, you know, completely hateful or racist or any of that garbage. I don't get it. The only guy you could possibly point at for creating anything that's hateful or coded or possibly bad is Varg Vikernes, and that guy's a convicted murderer who created a game that doesn't use OGL, isn't D&D, and has nothing to do with it. So you couldn't control him anyway. He can continue to sell all the copies of My Farog that he wants to. and it's not going to impact D&D one way or the other. And I don't think anybody's ever going to tie the two together, So I don't get it.
Yeah. TSR did the the Star Frontiers thing where they made the actual racial modifier for black people, like lower intelligence or something. I mean, but it's like even that, it's so dumb, and it immediately gets called out, and it's like everybody knows, like, all right, what are you trying to prove here? As I keep saying with this stuff, the market takes care of it.
It does.
He won't say the market. He'll say like our customers, or but it's like it's really the free market that does. Because they know bullshit, and they know stuff that goes beyond a line. I didn't see anybody, on our side of the fence trying to defend any of that kind of stuff. It's like,
no, because we know shit when we see it. We're, the biggest mistake that these guys are making they think their target audience is dumb. We're not dumb. We're fucking problem solvers, okay? And we have been forever because we have to come up with creative solutions to everything, whether you're a player or a DM. So, we didn't fall off the last load of turnips. We've got all kinds of scholars, educated people, and everyone else from all walks of life who play role-playing games. We don't need their protection.
They want a compliant, they're fine with their customers being smart, but they want them compliant. It's like that whole kind of Chinese freedom. Yeah, you guys got all this economic freedom, blah, blah, blah. You just can't say one word, about the government. That's the kind. They're authoritarians is kind of what it comes down to, and that's what a lot of the left has unfortunately become. They've fallen into this authoritarian trap. They don't see it that way. They see it as, we're just bringing order and justice to the world. But
you point out, the community's been quite loud at telling us when we've gone the wrong way, and we've corrected it. And so that's, that we know.
Have you though?
The community for that.
Yeah, the community. I hate that word. I don't know.
I don't like it either.
Our customers. You're a company. You're selling hot dogs. They are your customers.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't denigrate them at all. We love our customers, but that's what they are. Community. Yeah.
The thing that we didn't have is any ability to prevent a third party from using the OGL to produce hateful content and thereby reach the much larger audience that's out there now than there was in 2000, the much more diverse audience out there than there was in 2000. So the opportunity for harm is much greater, which is what our concern was. That being said,
okay, that's crap. Okay,
we realized that the combination of
that is the same bullshit that people try to level at freedom of speech all the time. Oh no, we're afraid that they might produce hateful content. It's like, oh, you mean so somebody might say something you don't like?
Yeah. Exactly.
It's the same difference, okay? It's like, the whole part of free speech is, people are going to say things that you don't like. They're going to say things you do like. The stuff you don't like, you don't buy into, you don't listen to, you turn off, you tune out. You do, you go about your day. You don't sit there. I don't know who does this. If there's something you don't like, you don't sit there and expose yourself to it. Unless, that's some kind of weird therapy or something, exposure therapy of some kind or something. Oh, I'm going to get over this by, subliminating in it.
Yep.
But
it's, like you said, the real test is putting up with speech that you don't like. I mean, anybody can put up with, neutral speech or positive, but what are you going to do when someone points at you and says, no, you're wrong?
I almost wish, I don't really wish, but I almost wish that somebody did come out with something that was 100% hateful, 100% horrible, and that everybody could point at as an example of, look, they actually did this using your stuff. Yeah. So then they could say, okay, well, you have a legit example now. You have something here that everybody on whatever side of the fence you stand on, no matter what your politics are, can agree is horrible. But they don't, because nobody's done that.
Exactly.
Because they know it wouldn't sell.
Yeah. And we all know that, they were just, this is something they're future proofing to put convenient things for them. I've always maintained this is how they get in, and and of course it's not going to happen in the next year, maybe not the next 2 years, but 5 years down the road, when they're releasing something, you're going to get a disclaimer there, or you're on virtual tabletop. Hey, we would prefer that you not refer to orcs as totally evil. We understand it's controversial. We would just kind of prefer that right now. And then the next year, it's like, we highly recommend that you do this.
Mm-hmm.
And then, by year 3, it's like, okay, any content that refers to orcs as evil, is immediately going to get the, the red flag treatment.
Mm-hmm.
Or the pronouns. It's like, it's how many things sound like a joke or sounded like a joke, 15, 20 years ago and are true now. Why is it so hard for some people to think like, yeah, this company would probably want you to put pronouns in for an actual NPC, like a person? Mm-hmm. I can see him doing that. At first it would be like, oh yeah, it's just totally optional. By year 3, it ain't optional anymore.
Nope. And what really, really pisses me off, what drives me crazy, and not just me, but a lot of the old players who have been playing this since the very first games came out, Dungeon Delver, Cerulean, a lot of my friends who are old school players, is the fact that they will happily reprint old TSR material, old beloved TSR material, like the Tomb of Horrors, the Expedition to Barrier Peaks, White Plume Mountain, all of the classics. They will reprint all of these things, and then they will slap that big ass disclaimer on it saying those attitudes at the time that were prevailing may have been problematic or were problematic and should not be contextualized in the modern day as being anything, and I'm just like, you do realize that some of these people who wrote this stuff are still alive, right? Okay, you're by definition, you're basically saying people I've gamed with, like James Ward, are problematic. Because
legends,
yeah,
so
they're still willing to profit off of this stuff, but they throw a big ass disclaimer on it saying how it's problematic. I'm just like, if your commitment to keeping everybody safe was real, wouldn't you not print that? And I'm not saying I don't want them to, but at the same time, I'm just like, just take the damn disclaimer off.
Yeah. Well, it's how they're on faulty ground. I always point also to the Cleveland Indians, who made a big hullabaloo about changing, their logo and then their name. But I'm pretty sure you can still buy a Chief Wahoo hat or merchandise with Chief Wahoo on it. They'll certainly profit from it. And that's when like, oh, okay, this wasn't about anything that was really hurting anybody. This is just about just looking good to the right people and caving in, and that's sad but true. All right, see what these guys they have anything else to say. Or I have a couple of other points I jotted down.
As I was mentioning with the big media companies, same answer applies here. Combination of community plus our own copyright and trademark protections is enough, we think, to take care of hateful content. On further review, looking at it, that's much better than the harm that was going to be done to the creator community. So it's one of those things where you look at the cost benefit. What are we going to gain? What are we going to lose? Well, we'd gain the legal ability to get to stop hateful content by third-party creators, but we would lose basically our whole creator community. That is not worth it. That is a terrible deal.
Well, I'm glad you guys were smart enough to see that.
Oh.
And I still say that it's only tabled for now, because their customer base, it would be all for that. They coupled it in with the OGL thing. They needed to kind of bifurcate it and do it separately. And in a few years they'll try something like that again, and their audience will probably be like, hey, cool.
Yeah. They won't know any better. Of course, like I said, it's kind of nice that most of the people who were such vehement supporters of 5e, who wanted changes like that, who wanted all that speech and stuff like that cut back and everything, have become Paizo customers.
Yep.
And Paizo apparently already caters to that sort of thing. So it's kind of like, you know what? It's already built into their game. So, you know, don't have to change shit.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and it's a good point. It's a fair point. I mean, look, if you're looking for a kind of a woke company, they're not as bad or as imbecilic as Wizards of the Coast.
Nope.
You know, and I'm never gonna, like I said with this channel, I'm never gonna tell you what you can and can't play. That is your decision. You know, your red lines that need to be crossed before you do something. That is your personal decision. You know, and I certainly understand it. It's not easy for some people. You know, so if some people need to go like, you know what Wizards of the Coast is doing here is terrible. I'm gonna go to Paizo instead. I'm not the kind that's gonna go like, well, you know, Paizo's woke too, so you can't go there. It's like, yeah, they are
Press.
Yeah, exactly. So is Cobalt. But you know what? If you guys are okay with it, then, you know, rock on. It's, you know, I'm never going to tell you don't do it, you know, and maybe they'll cross a red line at some point. And it's like, all right, well, I think eventually I tell that, you know, to some people in my real life, you know, it's like eventually, you know, you're all going to be Republicans eventually because the way this country, you know, is going, the Democrats are in the process of just totally dismantling it. So yeah, at some point you're going to realize like, holy shit, this can't continue. Will it be too late? Who knows? It's the same with gaming. I mean, eventually you're going to realize that probably a lot of these companies that just do not like you, it will eventually come out. It is going to come out eventually, and Paizo and Wizards of the Coast, they are miles away from each other, stone's throw up in Seattle. So we know the kind of people that Paizo has employed in the past. You know, the Jessica Prices, the Crystal Frasers. They are not very nice people, but in the same respect, if they printed a rule set that you like and you don't think that there's a lot of wokeness seeping into it, then play it. You know, like I said, we played Pathfinder for a couple years. It was a good bridge.
Yeah, we still play Pathfinder, but we play Pathfinder First Edition. Group doesn't like Second Edition.
Yeah, I heard Second Edition was not quite as good as people thought. Although it's getting a second, people are kicking the tires on it now for sure.
Oh yeah, you know. Plus, doesn't Paizo have a union? But
I got conned into doing that.
Yeah, they got a union, so that's something that those folks can get behind because they like that. But the thing is, too, it's like, you know, even Paizo was feeling the crunch there for a little bit because they were starting to make stuff for 5th edition before this OGL fiasco came out. Now, you know what? I bet they're not going to do it now because all those customers who jumped ship for 5e just went straight over to Paizo. We don't have to print shit for 5e anymore.
They are the God, they have just always perfectly positioned themselves. They are I as much as I may dislike their politics, which I know they probably a lot of the folks there feel, I have nothing but respect for their game because they knew how to like work that OGL right from the start. They jumped on the you know, like, hey, we're going to stay with 3rd edition, and then just the way they played this whole OGL hullabaloo in the last month has been masterful. So I give them a lot of credit from a business point of view. That's what you should be doing.
Yes.
Now, you know, if you told them like, hey, you guys are A1 capitalists, they'd be like, oh my God, no, we're not. You know, it's like, yes, you are.
We have a union.
Yeah, we have a union. A union for RPG writers. Yeah, that's oof.
Must be cushy.
Well, you know, and part of me also said, you know, if Jessica Price hates them so much, maybe I got to rethink that a little bit. Maybe they're better than I think. Because she went on that Twitter bender once Crystal Frazier got shit canned. And she just spent a whole day just tearing down Eric Mona, calling him a weak man, and just talk about how their office was just an unvacuumed pigsty. And it's like, well, yeah, that's the way all you people live. You guys, you know, you guys are disgusting. But
I walked into the office the other day and it smelled like feet. Can you imagine?
She said she got like, and you never know with her, she's a habitual liar and exaggerator, but apparently she had gotten out of Eric Mona that like the certain parts of that office had not been vacuumed in like 7 years. Like, Lord. Ay.
It's like, I mean, is that the worst thing?
Yeah.
This place is so bad for my allergies.
That was just a throwaway for her. Oh yeah, she made a big point of saying like I brought in my own vacuum, and apparently the fucking thing busted while she was vacuuming there.
Oh shit!
Well, look these up. These are all out there. Yeah.
Oh my god.
My vacuum busted because the place was such a pigsty. I just picture like Eric Mona like eating a fucking Wendy's burger and just like, rolling it up and just throwing it in the corner. And
can you imagine? And here's the funny thing. Okay, I never read about what happened over at White Wolf, but I can imagine it must have been similar because Wizards of the Coast, when they were original, Richard Garfield owned Magic the Gathering when it first came out and it blew up huge. Those guys had millions of dollars all of a sudden. And, it's pretty well documented how crazy the environment at Wizards of the Coast was way back then. Cause they had orgies and all kinds of shit up there. I mean, because they were suddenly, doing cocaine off of hookers' butts and everything else. And I'm just like, golly, because all of a sudden these were a bunch of nerds that got filthy rich from this card game.
Well, we went to our first Gen Con in 2007, and our big thing was, we were a lot younger back then, even though, we just kind of wanted to see it, but we're like, yeah, we want to see the White Wolf booth. I bet you there's a lot of slutty goth girls on parade there. And it's like,
oh boy,
we're like probably like 2 or 3 years too late. That ship had sailed by that point.
Oh yeah, but I can only imagine how crazy it was back when, in the heyday. I never asked Mark about that. Maybe I should sometime, but
next time
maybe. But
get a PG version.
Here's the funny thing though. If they were using those same offices that Crystal worked out of, I kind of wonder what that place looked like under black lights.
Oh God.
Think about it.
Got that in my nightmares tonight now. Thank you for that.
Has that carpet really not been washed in 7 years?
Yeah, let's check out Eric's desk. Looks like a murder scene. All right, let's see. This is supposedly I don't know what this is.
One of the questions that often comes up: did anybody sign the first version that one?
Oh yeah, this. Did anybody sign the whatchamacallit, the OGL?
So 1.1 was always meant to be an online click-through process. There was never going to be a signature for 1.1. That being said, it was distributed along with an NDA, and you have to sign the NDA. And my understanding, I wasn't.
Gotta sign the NDA. That's it, folks. Gotta sign the NDA. Our hands were tied. Sorry.
Yep.
Personally, in these communication loops, my understanding is at the same time with some of these creators, there were conversations about other arrangements that those creators might make, direct licenses separate from the OGL. And those would, of course, have signatures because they're direct licenses and you sign licenses. So all of that being said, the impression someone could get that I have to sign the 1.1 is absolutely a believable impression for someone to get out of all that. But I will say that the design of 1.1 was always going to be an online click-through process, no signature process.
Thanks.
Oh, well, that makes it better, right?
Love the follow-up.
I don't get it.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks.
Well, I mean, it was an online click-through process. Okay, so I don't even have to be there in person or anything. Wow, that's nice. You just steal my company digitally. That's cool.
Exactly. God, these people just lie. They lie like rugs.
So then groups like Kobold Press, which you mentioned in an early recording, they should have provided good feedback because they've been around.
They lie like the filthy carpet in Merrick Mona's office. It hasn't been washed in 7 years. You can still smell the hookers.
Yes, knotted down in various places.
Yes.
God knows what.
Not elected properly or listened to. Like, how did what these companies were saying, not register to the point where they felt they had to go out into the public and talk about it?
I think it was. I think that failing is on us in terms of not communicating to them how much we were listening.
What would you have communicated? We're not listening to you. It's what they would have communicated had they communicated. They obviously didn't.
Because if they give, so let's say that you give me something to review and I give you my feedback, and then I don't hear anything from you other than thanks for the feedback. How do I know you've done anything? How do I know you've even listened? Maybe I'm afraid you're not listening. Maybe I think you're not going to change a thing, and the thing I told you not to do, you're still going to do. I might feel that I need to go tell somebody else to make sure you don't do that thing I told you we shouldn't do. In that case, the failing is on you for not telling me, hey,
what the hell is he? I mean, what kind of mind games is he playing with himself here? I mean, is this a solo game? Did you roll dice to come up with these answers for these questions? What the hell?
It's talking in circles. Yeah, I felt that way too.
I'm
and
like,
he knows that he can bamboozle this Teos guy who's just not going to follow up on anything. So he's just
well, he got a list of all the questions beforehand. I'm sure he had legal come in there and say, okay, yeah, answer this way. We don't want you to have another repeat of what happened on 3 Black Halflings, dumbass.
Thank you for the feedback, and we're making the following changes based on the feedback. Here's what's coming next.
Thank you for the feedback. Thank you for the slap in the face. It's very much appreciated.
Which we did not do.
To that person who sent us a 150-pound ham and told us to stick it up our ass sideways. Thank you very much for that.
What would you do to see some of the comments they were getting in their quote unquote feedback period?
Oh, I bet they were hilarious. Shit, they probably, they took all the comments and stuff on that feedback. They probably printed them all out on old style printer paper and then, like threw them in the restroom like as spare toilet paper and reading material.
Just got this image of an old dot matrix computer.
Exactly.
Putting it out.
Thermal printer.
Just on a spool all day. Yeah.
Yes.
Paper the office with it.
Even though we were taking the feedback and we were making changes, we hadn't landed on what those changes would be yet, so we didn't really have anything material to communicate back yet. This is becoming clearer and clearer to me as I look further and further into this process, but I think that's a big part of it, was that, the fact that we were taking feedback wasn't clear to them. It was obviously not clear to them.
The fact that you weren't taking feedback, you know what they were doing? They were probably sitting there and they were like highlighting all their replies and reading them out to other people in the offices. Hey, look, this guy says we should actually stop short rests.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, he's lying so much. They were not soliciting feedback. I mean, this was so clear. If you're in business, you know what went on. The hammer came down from the top and said, "Look, you're going to do this. The party's over. We're sick of Paizo, taking, all this
market share.
Yeah, this market share, which they didn't step back to think like, well, hold on, is this a rising tide situation? Yeah, but they were just going by the mandate. They weren't listening to any private or public feedback from their quote unquote God, these terms too. Our partners, our community.
Our community. Oh, Ironcaster has a good one there. Are we out of touch? No, it's the 40,000 players that canceled their subscription to D&D Beyond who are wrong.
That's like the old meme. Yeah, can't be us.
Can't be us.
Why would they have bothered to go outside? Yeah. Right? If you feel like you're being listened to, you wouldn't need to do that.
1.2, the first version that we saw publicly was making a number of improvements, but it was still trying to deauthorize the open gaming license. And was that to try to prevent a company from using the original OGL to compete on a large scale? Is that sort of the primary?
Just feed him your answer there, Deos.
I mean, if you're going to write a new version of the OGL to protect yourself from...
Exactly. This is so stupid. It's just... Do you think this Teos just kind of, when he was done with the interview, just kind of set it down and was just kind of gave a deep sigh, like, man, I'm such a sellout.
I'm pretty sure he went to He probably hid under his desk and curled into the fetal position, wondering, where he went wrong with his life with this interview.
Well, and like I told someone too, it's like, he has a lot of professional credits, under him, which is a lot more than me, but it's just odd that, he's supposedly a podcaster. He supposedly has a regular partner. His channel is half the size of like mine, and I consider mine a very tiny channel, even with the phenomenal growth, in the grand scheme of things, like, mine is a very small channel. And here's Wizards of the Coast doing damage control on a YouTube channel with 600 subscribers. I mean, if this was live, this probably wasn't live. If it was live, how many people would they have gotten? Probably less than are in here right now, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure everybody would have tuned in to that channel just to hear Kyle Brink either A, put his foot back in his mouth, or
theoretically,
or walk it back.
Yeah, if they had known, like, oh, and by the way, guys, I am not going to ask anything about what was said on Three Black Halflings, then they would have gotten their normal audience. Yeah, if you were there for the anticipation, like, let's hear it. Yeah, they'd have gotten. Yeah, there'd have been 500 people in there for sure. But yeah, to witness.
If he'd had any balls, he would have come on Twig and just let us grill him. I mean, half an hour in there with Grim, and he would have been in tears. And Grim would have been nice about it the entire time.
Well, yeah, and you know what? It's like an open invitation. I am not an asshole. I will challenge you. I would have asked him, Kyle, what are you thinking here? And, please walk me through what you're thinking and tell me why I shouldn't believe what my ears heard, But I'm not going to say like, yeah, man. And another thing too, it's like, I'll treat you professionally. I'll be cordial, even if we probably don't, like each other.
Well, it's like, okay, on my panel, I got Grim, I got Guard Bro, I got Victor, I get Greg, who shows up now and then. Well, actually, he shows up pretty often. I'm sorry, I don't mean to diss Greg. And every once in a while, I get David Guile on there too. And and these are all guys who wrote games, write games, are writing games, have lots of credits to their name, or have industry credits. And they would ask him some sizzling questions that would just flay the skin off of him. I mean, and they'd be nice, but they'd punch him with the hard questions. They would not be as, they would not feed him answers like this guy did.
I mean, he buckled under the Three Black Halflings who, great. I wouldn't say they threw, hardcore questions at him, but they threw questions at him that he should have expected in an honest interview.
Mm-hmm.
And he buckled under that. I mean, I couldn't imagine what he'd do on your show.
Oh God, no, he wouldn't last. He'd quit after the first 20 minutes, I think.
Yep. Hey, Cal and ANN, if you could put the link in the chat to T-Shirted's channel, just make it easier maybe for folks to subscribe. If you could do that, that would be
appreciate
great.
that.
I think you guys have the authority to do that. All right, let's watch a little bit more here.
From the vulnerabilities of the old OGL, you kind of have to take the old OGL off the table, right? Otherwise, you're not protecting yourself at all. If I'm putting on a suit of armor, but there's no back to it, why did I put it on? I better keep my front to you, I guess, at all times. That's just the mechanics of it. If you are going to change the OGL, then you kind of have to deauthorize the old one, or there's no point in changing it.
And was that idea?
I mean, on that, I understand their point.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's the route they were going to go down, I mean, but oh well, you fucked up, boys.
Yeah. And it's the way they were proposing some of these changes too. It's not so much that they wanted to change it; it's the way they wanted to change it. The fact that it didn't matter how they reworded it; they were still going to maintain a control over what was printed, created, or made with their stuff. And the whole deal is this kind of like, nobody's going to trust you guys, because it's, at what point would you tell somebody, hey, you can't do that with our material, so we're just going to deauthorize you and take all your stuff. You may see it appear in a future book that we create.
Yeah, they've not earned any trust. It is gone. I don't know. I mean, from my point of view, they could never earn it back, just because we know where they're at, where their head is at. But yeah, even some of these folks who are more ideologically inclined to agree with them on stuff, when you piss them off, man, you have really fucked up.
Yeah,
really bad.
I think that's what shocked them the worst was the fact that all these fans that they tried so hard to placate all these years turned on them so savagely. I don't think they were prepared for that. So
they should have been. I mean, those folks will do that. And the thing is, though, the other side of that coin is they can flip back, and I think some of them are. Some of them.
Mm-hmm.
We're already showing signs with like the whole like, hey, but you know what? The whole hate speech thing, that was kind of a good idea, they had. So people think, I said this before, people think that, that this white hot heat is going to last. It will not. There will come a time when things are normalized again, and Wizards of the Coast will probably, I'm not going to say for sure, but probably will not be sticking their foot in their mouth every 2 weeks. And things will just kind of get back to normal, and then people will start to wonder, like, okay, what is this new edition of D&D? And yeah, I mean, there'll always be echoes of this whole thing.
In the meantime, they keep hiring folks like Connie Chang, who will appear in D&D promotional videos and stuff like that, praising the product, and then on their own channels will just absolutely tear the shit out of it.
Yeah, but Connie Chang does not bother their customer, what they want to be their customer base, their preferred customer base. They want folks that Connie Chang would bring in because they think it's money. And that actually leads to something I saw. Who said it? I think it was was it maybe the Basic Expert or somebody on Twitter was talking about this young lady YouTuber, very successful. She plays D&D.
Jenny D.
Yes, yeah,
that was Basic Expert. That's my boy John. Yeah. I've been catching up on some of his stuff. He's real good. In fact, I bought his Cyberpunk game last night. Oh, nice.
Yeah, the Atomic, whatever it is. Yeah, it looks.
Yeah. What's his love letter to Fallout?
Yeah, I can't wait to get that in my hands. Yeah, he'd said like, how does this girl who's only been playing D&D for 3 years get burnout? It's like me and you, we've been doing campaigns for like 30 years, and granted, I need a break every once in a while, as I'm sure you do, but burnout, man, no. I think it's from, a lot of people said this, if you're playing with these new players, they are putting these unreasonable expectations on you. Be a Matt Mercer. Watch a Crit Crab video and see how many stories he has of these lunatic players who are like, be more like Matt Mercer. You got to be more like Matt Mercer.
Why aren't you counting my 12-page backstory?
Yeah, you didn't put any of it in. It's like, yeah, these people are a handful. My wife, she's a role player, but she's also a board gamer. And in her board game group, there were some people who had never played D&D before, and they kind of are these Critical Role fans. And even she's saying already, she's like, you know what I'm noticing is that they just don't have the staying power. They were all about it like 2 months ago, like, oh my God, we're gonna have our first session. It's gonna be great. First session comes like, oh, it was super, and then it's like, somebody didn't show, so we didn't play. We actually haven't. Yeah, we haven't played in the last 3 weeks. Yeah, Taurus, exactly. That's I think Greg Gillespie. That's kind of what he calls them too. It's like, yeah, they just.
Well,
it's like,
okay. I mean, look at it. Look at it like this, okay? Most of these people who are fans of Critical Role, they like, oh, we saw Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons is what they play on Critical Role. Dungeons and Dragons is what they played on Stranger Things. We want to play that too. So that's the brand they go to, and they think they're going to have that same fun experience. And I'm kind of like, you're never going to have that experience because nobody plays that way. And the game that they're playing in Stranger Things, it looks like Dungeons and Dragons, but it's not. Or if it is, it's very heavily homebrewed for the time, especially. And you know, when they get in there, they get disappointed. I talked to Pundit. I made a mistake. I said, yeah, I noticed that a lot of games are, you know, only going up to 6th level now, and then people are dropping out. And he says, my friend, your data is out of date. And I said, what are you talking about? And he said, most players are only going for about 6 sessions and then dropping out.
6 sessions. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like, okay. And we tried to tell them, it's like, okay, we have lots of other TTRPGs out there that you might enjoy more. Shadowrun, Cyberpunk, Worlds Without Number, Scarlet Heroes, RuneQuest. These are all awesome games, and you can play them, and some of them are free. But these people are like, I don't want to play those. I've never heard of those. I want to play Dungeons and Dragons because that's what they played on Critical Role. Yeah. And, you know, I think it's funny.
A lot of them are getting a crash course, though, with this whole OGL thing, because now all their trendy friends are like, oh, haven't you heard? Like, you know, D&D is passe now. So it's like, oh, okay. Oh, you mean I can play this other game that's not called D&D, but actually is? Okay, I'll do it.
Uh-huh. And if Paizo was smart, they would brand the shit out of Galarion. They would... You know, they'd start merching the hell out of it with all kinds of Pathfinder shit. And, you know, they got so many good properties that they could do that with. I mean, and they got Starfinder, which is really actually a good game. I've run and played Starfinder. I really enjoyed it. And in fact, my first comment on Starfinder after reading through the rule book is I told my friend, I said, if they come out with a Pathfinder 2, I bet it's going to be just like this. And I had no idea how prophetic my words were actually going to be because Pathfinder 2 hadn't been released at the time. So,
I played at a convention. They were doing right before the release, or no, it was right at the release because I think I bought Starfinder at Gen Con. So you know, we went up and you know we played an official event, and yeah, it was okay. It's just that for whatever reason we couldn't fit it in our schedule, but I bought a few things for it, and I think my son actually ran like a little mini campaign, probably like a couple of months worth with his buddies. You know, he said the same thing too. He said like, yeah, it's pretty good. And I never had anything against it. You know, the one time we did play at the convention, I had a reasonably good time with it.
Yeah. GM for Food says campaign cohesion is always been a problem, even in the golden 80s. Well, back in the golden 80s, you had more than one GM. And the cool thing was, if you made a guy at somebody's table and you got experience points, you could pick up that character and like go to somebody else's table and run that same character. That was kind of the beauty of it back then. Nowadays, they want to lock you into these you know level 1 through 20 campaigns, and the character never sees the light of day and outside of that campaign. I'm going like, wow, that sounds boring as shit. I wouldn't play that game.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's like a self-contained, like this book is your campaign, and
yeah,
it's sort of. I don't know if that was Wizards' way of like, all right, we want them to only buy our product, you know, or focus mostly on our product because we can only release so many per year. But yeah, it's I never quite got that. You know, the 1 through 20. Make it, you know, 5 levels max. That I mean, should be the maximum. That's an epic. 1 through 20. That's good lord. I mean, that's years, and there's not years worth of game in those campaigns.
No,
that's fast track. Like, all right, boom, get them up this level.
Milestone leveling.
Yeah. Which is fine, but it's like if you're just doing it to get you through a canned campaign, hey, come on. I don't know. No. All right, let's a little bit more.
And so in terms of deauthorizing 1OA, we don't have any plans to go anywhere near the OGL right now. That was the whole point of going to Creative Commons, is to just make it all moot. Use whatever you want. It's fine. It's not anything important to the company at this point. And that was the beauty of doing something that's, in the way, as the way I put it, is mechanically irreversible. We've put it in the Creative Commons. It's done. You don't have to trust us. We don't have to revisit this. The end, basically. And so, will we deauthorize 1OA? I don't know why it would help us to do so. It's just all in Creative Commons. If you don't like us deauthorizing 1OA, you'll just go use Creative Commons. So
yeah.
Well,
speak.
Why not just say you're not going to do it and just be done with it? Is it at this point? It does not. It will never serve you. I mean, it can't be for monetary reasons. There's no legal reason, really. I mean,
he's just trying to cover his ass on that one, I think, because he doesn't know. A year down the line, they may just decide, well, you know what, we are going to do that.
Yeah, a year I think is a little too soon, but even with today's short attention spans, but yeah, about 2.5 years. You know what? Maybe depending on if like 6th edition or 1 D&D, whatever it is, if it goes well, maybe they try to sneak something through there.
Yeah,
they're just dumb
basically
enough
when
to
everybody's
try.
forgotten about it. Yeah, of course they will. Yeah, well, it depends on who's in charge at that point. By that point, Cox and Williams may be out on the street. So
yeah, and people right now are probably saying like, oh no, nobody's ever going to forget. It's like, dude, a year ago you couldn't stop thinking about Russia invading the Ukraine. Hands up. Did any of you think anything at all about the Russia-Ukraine war today? You don't see it on news feeds. You don't see it. Nobody knows what's going on. It was like the thing that was going to lead to World War III. Now it's hard to find anything on a ground level situation on what's going on.
it's just kind of like Russia's second Vietnam after Afghanistan.
Yeah. But it's that kind of out of sight, out of mind. Like, yeah, it's there. It's just kind of, oh yeah. If you think about it, if it does pop into your mind, like, oh, I wonder what's going on there, you have to kind of search it out. But you're not being bombarded with it.
No.
Check your newscasts. I mean, unless something odd happened. So yeah. So if something that big, life and death, World War III, can get put down the memory hole, a little OGL kerfuffle can also fit down there quite nicely. And I think Wizards, if they're smart, honestly, if they're smart business people, they probably know that. Like, all right, just take our licks now, and we'll revisit it later.
Speaking to that of what comes next with it, the end. So 5.1 was released in I think 2016, about 7 years ago. This is the SRD version. But it has not been updated since then, right? So one of the worries has been, well, it's really wonderful that 5.1 is in the Creative Commons, and you're saying the word updates, but will you really be updating the SRD? Will we see it be updated for things like the Artificer? Will we see it be updated for 1D&D?
And we're definitely going to be updating the SRD. Our commitment is that the SRD will continue to be compatible with the rules updates that are coming. Now, whether that's because we're going to bring rules in, actual like just wholesale bring text in from the new rules, or whether we use some kind of bridging language. The example I always give is, well, it's species over here and race over here. So any place you see species, you should understand that to mean race. So if I'm playing an OGL based or 5.1 SRD based piece of content over here, and I've also bought the rules updates, I won't be confused. They'll work together still. And so that's our promise, is that the SRD will be updated to remain compatible with the new rules update. So that's for sure, whether it's 5.2, 5.3, whatever we call it. So the new rules updates are still 5th edition. It's just going to be improvements to 5th edition, the way we see it.
Will you also add the 3.5 SRD to it?
We're looking at it. I think the answer is yes, with a small asterisk, and that asterisk is we need to do our homework, because we haven't looked closely at the 3.5 SRD in some time. And speaking to the point now of our strategy being that blend of community and trademark and copyright, we need to make sure that we don't give up.
Community. That word worms its way in again. Evil word.
Yeah, I don't know what they're even talking about at this point, because it's kind of like all the 5th edition players don't know shit about 3.5.
Yeah.
If you sat a 3.5 book down in front of a 5e player, they would be confused, because 3.5 was crunchy as hell.
Yes, it was. And you know what? If you want that flavor, you're just going to go find Pathfinder first edition books anyway. That's all it is. You want to play D&D third edition, just track down first edition of Pathfinder.
Yeah.
Is that even in print anymore? Do they still print that, or are they?
Yeah, they're like in the little miniature books now, which is actually more convenient, and I like them better. But yeah, you can still get them that way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You know what? They'd be really smart if they did that. I mean, I know they want to focus on their flagship, but they should also service that market just because it was so big for so long.
I think they're smart enough to realize it's like if we completely abandon Pathfinder first edition, we're killing our entire our market base really bad, because there's still enough Pathfinder first edition players out there that keep buying this.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and like I said, if nothing else, Paizo is a very crafty company. As Cersei Lannister would say, they have a low cunning.
Yes,
she always said about her brother Tyrion. They have a knack for being in the right place at the right time. But maybe some people, some companies, maybe they make their own luck. Maybe that's one of them. I have nothing but respect for their business prowess. Their political leanings, I'm sure we do not see eye to eye on, but that is neither here nor there.
Yeah, I mean they make a good game. They just do. I mean,
yeah. It's like, if it doesn't seep into the final product and you're okay with it, and your red line is beyond that, then like I said, God bless and enjoy. Right now I am looking at a little mini shelf full of Pathfinder books, and occasionally I'll still refer to one or two. Just, there's a good NPC book they came out with.
Oh yeah, that was a real good one. Yeah. And they have so many good bestiaries.
Yeah. Yep, I got like 2 or 3 of those. So yeah, that's why I'm not going to burn anything. Just anything you can salvage something out of anything. Even Wizards of the Coast, as much as I hate them, I'm not. I have not. The only thing I bought that was egregious was Journeys Through the Radiant Citadel, but that was channel related. I'll just keep that as a memento or something. But I stopped buying their stuff before they went crazy. So basically everything I have for 5th edition is still, even if it's not perfect, it's there's salvageable stuff in it.
Yeah, I've got the older edition 5th edition stuff, including the the old books that are now out of print. But I stopped buying anything from them a long time ago. I don't have Tasha's. The only newest book I have is the Spelljammer book, and solely for the reason of the Hadozi controversy. So mine has the original, Hadozi with the Hadozi printing and everything else. So
yeah, I forgot I bought them too, and that was kind of and that's honestly, that's the book that kind of told me like, and maybe I just bought it too early in my channel. I'm like, oh cool, I'll just keep like buying these books and reviewing them, and it's like I'm paying all this money, even on Amazon. It's still more money than I should have thrown at it. And it's like, you make a video on it, and it just the video just kind of, it was so early in my channel's life that the video just kind of died. But I will say this, the Hadozi thing, I'm like, aha, now I have a collector's item. And there are actually a couple of decent monsters in that little monster book they have. There's a couple in there that are okay. In fact, I think I did use one. It's like a big giant centipede or something. I ended up using that in one of my games. So I can at least say, hey, I got one bit of use out of it, like literally one. But
you've gotten more use out of your books than I have mine. I've run 5th edition a few times. I've played it 3 times. Currently, I don't know. I float the idea of playing 5th edition with my friends every once in a while, just to tell them, hey, you at least should try it, just so you could see what you think. But they're very stubbornly against the idea. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to push. So.
Yeah, you do kind of have to go with your group's sentiment. We've been we did not jump on early. We were not on it in like 2014. We actually came a little later in like 2016, I think maybe. And it served us okay. I'm not gonna rewrite history, but it's just as time has gone on, it's a hard system. The player DM balance is out of balance more towards the players now, and that's just the way I see it. Look, the DM can always drop a piano on their players. I know that. Okay. But there's things that I would, in my 30 years of experience as a DM, there are things that I thought like, okay, this should challenge this group. And a lot of times it's like boom,
blow
boom,
through.
Boom. Yeah. They just burn through it. And I'm like, damn. And they get mad at me because I'm sitting there. If you roll like shit, then it's comical. Then it's almost just they're yawning, while they're just destroying this creature I've put in front of them, and I'm sitting there getting mad, because I'm rolling like shit, and then they'll chuckle, they'll be like, he wants to kill us, and I'm like, no, I want to challenge you. I want to challenge you without doing the old save or die thing, because you get to a point in 5th edition, and it's like, well, are we at save or die yet?
I always want to do the Dark Souls 3 rule, and it's kind of like, oh, you defeated the boss monster, but wait, he has a second encounter. Now he comes back even stronger with different powers. So
that's sort of where my group is with Barrow Maze. There's a behemoth creature that they have to deal with, and then once they do that, it's like, oh, thank God. It's like, well, all right, now you get to meet the guy behind that creature, and he's no pushover either. So they're like, oh shit, damn it. That is an unforgiving module. Have you ever ran Barrow Maze?
No, I saw you talking to Dr. Gillespie about it, and I want to pick it up at some point.
Do yourself a favor and do it, even if it's just to read for inspiration. That and Dwaro Deep. Let me tell you, if you have
they look good.
Any inkling to do like a Dwarven Moria theme thing, that is really good. God, his stuff is so good. Makes sense too. And it's not just me. I was reading it, Barrow Maze, and I'm like, man, this stuff is it really kind of makes sense, and you can kind of just change things as you need it. But my players are, saying too, like, man, this dungeon is a cut above, what we're normally used to. A lot of thought went into it for sure.
Yeah, I'm currently kind of recovering from buyer's fatigue because back when the OGL they were threatening to deauthorize it. I don't know if you saw, but on my channel, I literally went on a week-long crusade talking about, hey, if they deauthorize it, this is something you're going to lose. This is something you're going to lose. This is something you're going to lose. And I kept showing off games that were in danger of being going away because of that. And I panic spent a lot of money trying to pick up stuff before it went away, thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to go away forever, and I'll never have an opportunity to get this again.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm not alone, apparently. I know Ironcaster is still kind of suffering from that, and I imagine there's others out there who are too. Which probably, I guess, that's part of Autark's good fortune, the fact that we bought so much stuff thinking it was going to go away. So we drove their sales through the roof for the month of January and December.
Do you guys ever take any do you ever do like any alternate games, like just like, hey, I need a spell, so let's because occasionally we'll run one of the other guys will sit in the chair for maybe a couple of months or 6 weeks, just like Rogan does Tales from the Loop, which is a pretty cool game.
I trade out with one of my friends. So we kind of go back and forth. And now on Sundays, Grim and I are alternating Sundays. So this coming Sunday, he's actually going to be running Barbarians of Lemuria, so that'll be fun.
Okay. Barbarians of Lemuria. Cool.
And I'm getting a notification that I've got to run, my man. So
yeah, I was just going to say it's probably a good time to wrap it up. So yeah, we were reading each other's minds. So yeah, I tell you what, if you guys, once again, go ahead and subscribe to T-Shirted Historian, great channel. and he was a great guest. Any final thoughts?
No, I'm good, thank you. But love to come back on again, and you, of course, are always welcome on the Week in Geek.
Yes, I definitely want. I owe you that next time. So yeah, we will find one that works absolutely, and I would love to be part of that. So I will go ahead and wrap it up here, guys. Thank you, T-shirted. We will, I'm sure, talk soon. And thanks to the chat as always. Guys always show up strong. So I will take us out with the usual outro. And I hope you guys all have a great rest of the night. So we will catch up with you guys soon, and take care.
Hey, man, is that Double D? Yeah, man. Well, turn it up, man.
Let's just go in and, like, kill all the orcs, right? They're the bad guys. Who gives a shit? We just hack and slash and we loot their dead bodies, right? Hack and slash, kill them all, conquer the infidels.
Boy, that campaign sounds like a barrel of fun, doesn't it?
When I got fired from ArenaNet, other women in the industry, like all of a sudden, people were randomly sending me $250 on PayPal.
Somebody who's opening a refrigerator and leaning in, right, is the language of a woman. Somebody who's opening their refrigerator and being cut off halfway through that lean is the voice of a mermaid or a siren, right?
Orcs are just like evil elves, right? And they were like made by like an evil god.
Honestly, guys like me can't leave soon enough.
Well, then you shall sleep forever.
Okay, well, if you want me to crunch, give me partial ownership in the company.
We want this dwarf to be the dwarfiest dwarf.
Right.
We want the elf to be the elfiest elf.
And just the dashiest dash of Tabasco.
Their voices need to carry across water.
I'm a creative. It's a huge drain, right? Because fans can be awful.
Costa del X, Lutherville, Marina del X, Otisburg. Otisburg?
Where's this monster? She's got her own place, man.
Otisburg?
It's a little bitty place.
Otisburg?
Okay, I just wipe it off. That's all. It's a little town.
Okay. We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live! Fuck it! Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live! Fucking thing sucks!
In 5, 4, 3.
Great sandwich.